So I used to say a lot FTFS, which is follow the effing script. And what I realized with that is there are so many cracks, because actually I started to tell people, do not ever follow the script, because this is exactly what is going to ruin your sales skills. So now what I want you to do is FTFF, which is follow the fucking framework. And what I mean by that is there are 7 key elements that I need you to go through to be able to get someone over the line, not by telling them what to do, but by asking the right questions and having this framework so that you understand where you're going in the conversation, you don't get lost, you don't lose frame, you're enabling them to be able to feel like they are making the decision for themselves, but you are going through the points that you need to be able to guarantee the close. So F, T, F, F, not S. FTFS, follow the fucking framework. We're gonna use something that is called the 7 C's. And the 7 C's, there are 7 because I want you to use all 7. Please do not try and just use 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 will do. It will not do. Every single one is there for a reason, and every single one has an intention. The reason why this is so important is if you feel yourself on a sales call going a bit far left, or like you've gone completely off course, or the client's asking you all these random questions, you know you've got a whole thing to go through. It's not a script and it's not robotic and it's not fake, but there are certain key elements you need to get through to, number 1, qualify the client and whether they are good enough for you. But number 2, qualify you and make sure that you're feeling like, yeah, I have everything that I need from them to make sure that we can close. So it's really just keeping both of you guys clear, and you're then clear with the direction, and then they're then clear with exactly where they're going. They feel good about it, all of those things. So C number 1, we have connect. And I'm gonna do a deep dive into this now. So connect is literally that. You're gonna build some rapport. I'm sure you've heard this before. You're also gonna make sure that you frame the call. These are the 2 most important things you do at the very beginning of the call. I've seen so many people, so many times, waffle on in the beginning of the call. How is it? How's the weather? What's happening? Da, 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 da. What I love to do at the beginning of the call is very simply say, like, where in the world are you calling from? Love that. And I will like move around on my chair a little bit and all of this stuff. I'm gonna match their energy. So there, I'm mirroring them. Really, really key. And many people miss this out too, because guess what? They're following the script, not the framework. So you're going to mirror the client. If the client comes on full of beans, what you're not gonna do is be your most empathetic, quiet, laid back self, because you're then gonna just drag them down with you. That is not the point. You're gonna get them into a buying state in the end. So why would you drag them down to then have to get them back up, right? So if they're up and they're all a bit crazy, you're gonna be a little bit crazy with them, be on their vibe, be energetic, and then you're gonna slowly bring them to where you wanna be so you can then take them up with you. So this is all about energy exchange. If you're off, you've gotta get to balance and get to baseline and get there quickly. The goal here is to make sure that you do this quickly. And that doesn't mean speed through your words. That doesn't mean just like cut them off or anything like that, but using questions that are gonna bring you back and using frameworks like this that are gonna bring you back. For example, what time is it where you are? Love to know, like, whereabouts are you calling from? Oh, I'm from the US, amazing. Oh, I'm actually from da 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 da. Why does this work? Simple stuff. It seems like a really irrelevant, like baseline question. Why does this work? This works because you are finding out what kind of energy state they might be in based on what time of day it is. I don't know anyone else that does this, but I do, and it works every single time. I figure out where I think they are in their energy based on kind of where I am in mine. So for example, in the morning, am I a bit slower? Typically, yes. Is everybody else also? Typically, yes. In the evening, am I a bit drained? Am I a bit tired from my day? Am I not really focusing? Yeah. So for me, finding out what time of day it is, I can literally know in that split second probably how they're thinking and feeling and how much is actually going in and how their brain space is and all of that. So that's the first thing, and obviously there's many other questions you can ask here. Another thing after this is frame. Here's what we're gonna do. On the call today, all I wanna do is see where you are right now, see where you wanna get to, see if we can bridge the gap, and look, like if it's a fit and if they think this is right for you and you fit aligned, we'll obviously invite you inside the program. And if not, no worries at all. I'm gonna guide you in a different direction, but either way, you'll get direction at the end of this call. Sound good? Perfect. And if you can just be as honest and transparent as you can possibly be, that would be super helpful, because obviously I can't help what I don't know. Sound good? Okay, great. Move. And you're not saying those things in a way that feels intimidating and they feel like they're gonna like rip someone apart or anything like that. You're just asking for permission for them to be honest in a way that's going to help them. So your tonality here is so key when you are framing that call. Third thing, when you are connecting and framing, you want to make sure that your tonality goes down when you are telling them to do something and goes up when you are amplifying an emotion that they are feeling. So this here, this downward intonation is going to make them feel like you have the authority. Sound good? Like this. If you're like, does that sound good to you? Like, is everything fine? They're just not going to trust you. They're going to feel like, well, this is like too much. You're trying to get me on your side and this is a lot, right? So you want to use it at the right time. However, if they're like, I'm just super, super excited to get on this call and and they're like a bit all over the place, you're gonna be like, I love that. And you see how your tone goes up, but what you're doing is you're affirming to them that they should do more of that, i.e. they should be more excited about the call. They should continue being open and honest with you because you're helping them to feel that without saying in a patronizing way, that was really good, okay? So these are the big breakdowns for connect. Second one we're gonna do here after connect. You're going to get clarity on current situation, no matter what that is. Let's just use fitness as an example, okay? So we're gonna use fitness and we're gonna see where they are now. Build me a big picture. How does it feel? What's it like? Day to day, what pisses you off? And all of these things are gonna be asked in a very, 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 very short, clean way. What people do is they follow the script and they say, so what's it like when that happens? And the person's like, why are you interviewing me? You want to be like, no way, what's that like? Completely different tonality, exactly the same script. And this is why you have to follow the framework. And I want you guys to really understand why you're asking this question. So let's go there. Why are you asking this be a picture? Why are you asking about what the a picture is? You're asking because you want to know exactly where they are right now to be able to bash any objection as early as possible, and so that you can help to stretch the gap when you're going to go and sell the B picture. So right now, where are you right now? Why is it difficult? All the things that make them feel like they don't want to be here right now. So the A picture needs to be as big as possible. Paint me a big picture, quite literally. And you can say this to them on the call. Paint me a big picture of where you are right now. Don't feel like you need to hold back. Just like be super, super open and honest with me. Don't worry. If it goes a bit on a tangent, I do it all the time. I'll bring you back, but feel free. Go ahead. I'm here for you. That's going to help someone to feel like, great, where do I even start? She said that like nothing was wrong. She said that it's okay for me to be open. I'm going to do it. And that builds trust straight away because they probably are in a household or in a society where they probably haven't been listened to about this particular topic, which is why they're on a sales call with you. So your job now is you just listen, be intrigued, show in your body language that you empathize with how they're feeling right now. Show that maybe you've been there at one stage too. Yeah, 100%, I get it. How do you feel when that happens? No way. And does it piss you off like day to day? Why? Tell me. Don't worry, I completely get it. Tell me. All of those kinds of things, they're gonna feel so validated and so understood that you've built so much trust in the first 10 minutes of the conversation. At the same time, you're also going to bash any objections that that person has in the A picture. So for example, this could be in terms of their job, in terms of, or their career, right? This could also be in terms of their partner. Oh, I don't have a supportive partner, or maybe they do, but that's the person paying the bills. It could also be to do with timing because they are in education right now, or whatever the hell it may be. Like, this is the time when you're going to ask all the questions of their current situation so that you can prepare the best you can and objection roll early before you get anywhere near the end of that call. If someone says, actually, I don't have a job right now, I'm actually like on the streets and I can't really afford to pay, but I just thought I'd have a chat with you, you can then wrap up the call at this point. Don't be mean about it, but you can say, look, like, what I want to do is make sure that we really, really take care of both of our times and we're respectful of each other's times. What I am going to do, obviously, right now is make sure that I will send you a free whatever, or I'll send you some free value in the meantime. But I want to make sure that you're not on this call feeling like you can't do the thing if this is the thing you want to do, because that doesn't help anyone. And you can politely send them away at this point. Save your time, save your energy, save theirs too, because they're going to be just disappointed at the end, right? So you're not just you're not selling a dream. But people feel bad doing that. But you should actually feel great doing that, because you are helping save somebody's time, energy, money, expectations, all of that. You're being transparent. And that is what this is about. So get them to be transparent with you so that you can be transparent with them. And then obviously bash any objections that you have. Number 3, create the vision. This is their B picture. Where do they want to get to? In an ideal world, What does that look like? If there were no limits, and this is very B2C, by the way, with fitness, if there were no limits, where would you want to get to? When it comes down to metrics, and I think metrics are a great one, B2C or B2B, numbers. What are they leaving on the table? This is what you want them to see. And this could be money. This could be the best shape of their life. This could be a better relationship, whatever it is that's being sold, right? This could be the big one, time. All these things, they're never gonna get time back again. Therefore, they're gonna pay you to crunch time, etc., etc. But you get all of this when you figure out what it is that they want. So people don't buy programs. They don't want your Zoom call. They don't want your education. They don't want you to tell them what to do, but they do want the outcome. So here you are positioning an outcome that is so big that they can see and they can visualize, and it's all in their minds, so that leaving that outcome just feels like an absolute no-go. Like if you can show them that you can actually be the person to get them to this outcome, this becomes a no-brainer for them. They don't care what they need to do because they can believe and they can see in that moment that you can be the person to help them achieve the outcome. So showing them rather than telling them that they can do the outcome and that they can achieve it just simply by asking the right questions is what's going to help them to come to this point. So now you have the outcome, which is in create the vision. You're now going to connect them both. So number 4, after create the vision, you're going to close the gap. What does that mean? They have told you a massive A picture of where they are right now. They've also told you a massive B picture of where they want to get to. And your job is to show them that you are the solution in the middle to fixing their problems. This is an exclamation mark, by the way. You're going to be the solution to their problem. So for example, you can ask questions like, and if you don't, what happens? And if you do, where will you be? And out of interest, if you do, i.e. do the program, jump into the thing, invest in yourself, whatever it may be. If you do, how will you feel? And you'll probably hear things like proud, independent, all of the things, met my potential, etc., fulfilled, which is, guess what? Well, they're not feeling right now. So if they're not feeling any of these things, and you are then suddenly the solution to helping them feel those things, because you're doing that, by the way, in this conversation. This conversation is the first sell. The first sell is them on themselves. That's it. So if you are able to help someone to make them feel seen and fulfilled and proud and independent, and that they have the potential to do something on a sales call, they're going to think of the best person ever. And then they're going to be the person to do that and take action. And then also thank you again afterwards, even though they paid you the money, because you were the person that was able to see everything in them that they couldn't see for themselves. So this is the difference between a good salesperson and a bad salesperson. So now after this, how do you feel? You're going to say perfect. And out of interest, what was it about us that made you book the call? In one sentence, I like to say this just to save time and make them be super specific with it. Can you tell me, like, what was it that made you book the call? Like, why us, out of interest? Or like, why me? They're gonna tell you things that only you are or how you are. They're very rarely gonna say, I like the way that your program is laid out. I like how many modules there are. They couldn't give a crap about that. It is never about the features. It is only ever about the person behind it. It's only ever about whether they think that they relate to you enough and that they like you and trust you enough to want to work with you, that they're going to listen to the things that you say. Information is everywhere, right? Everything is everywhere. You can find everything online. You can get ChatGPT. But that is the difference between somebody paying you and paying somebody else, simply because they see you in themselves, or they trust you more than another person, or they like the way that you teach versus another person. And this is the way they're going to feel that. And what you don't want to do is start teaching someone and showing them all the facts and figures that you have, because that's going to create overwhelm. And overwhelmed people do not buy. But what you can do is ask the right questions that they've never been asked before in a way that doesn't feel salesy and doesn't feel icky and sleazy, and have them feel like, no way, this is actually simple. Maybe I can do this. Maybe it is easier than I thought. Maybe I was just making like a huge deal out of something that didn't need to be, right? And so what about us was it that made you book the call? What do you think they're gonna do then? They're then gonna start selling themselves. So now, slowly but surely, they're selling themselves on you. And there's 3 things that you need them to be sold on. Number 1, the program or the product. Number 2, you. And number 3, themselves. Those are the 3 things that this person needs to be sold on before they can say buy. And normally people are very, very good at pushing towards one thing, or like pushing away from themselves and being like, the program's great, but the closer wasn't very trustworthy, and therefore, of course, they didn't buy. Or they're like, yeah, I like you. I don't know if I trust like the process. There's a reason behind all of that, right? And most of the time, the biggest one is that they just don't trust themselves. They don't trust themselves to do the work. They don't trust that they're going to show up if they pay you. They're worried that they're going to pay you and they're not going to be the ones that are able to achieve it, and they're going to feel like a failure. And that is most of the time what they're afraid of. And so again, here, when you said, what is it about us? You're already bashing the main one. The program is now done. This is why you're selling with us. Or if it's you that's actually closing, then it's also you that's now done. And the only things that we need to get them across the line is themselves. Well, this is good because you've already started doing this up here in Create the Vision. You're helping them to see and believe that they can do it themselves already. And in Close the Gap, they're seeing that with us being the solution, we're the ones to get them there. So all of this is so that we can help them because we've asked them what it is about us versus somebody else. And they're already going to say, and it's going to become very apparent to them. And a lot of the time you'll feel like you're buying from people because like, there's just this thing, I just feel it, like I just trust this person and I don't know why. And like, I don't know what it is, I just relate to them more than the other person. Great, that is exactly what it is. And it's nothing more than that. So you have to be that for them. It's very, very simple. So you've got to work it out and get them to also explain to you what it is in words. Because a lot of people are like, I don't know, it's like just this thing. And some people in that moment are going to say, look, I don't want to do this with anyone else. I just want to do this with you. And then you know where they stand. They're already sold on you. And you're going to say, why? Like, thank you, but why? They're going to tell you. And then you've already ticked off that part. You can move on to another part of the sales call with the rest of the framework. So now we're on number 5. Here we have commit. They need to commit again to themselves, to us, to the program, but more importantly, to the now. They need to commit to making a decision today. How are they going to do that? We're going to ask them questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, yeah, amazing, I absolutely love this. This is 100% what I want to do, and this is all for me, and I'm all in. And 1, not so much, get me out of this room, no thank you, I hate this. Whereabouts are you? And they're going to say, oh, I don't know, maybe like a 7, for example. And you're going to say, okay, no worries. And why wouldn't you go any lower than that out of interest? Like, why no lower than a 7? And their mind's going to flip because they think that you're then going to start justifying yourself. But you don't, because you know yourself, you have good self-worth. So you're going to say, why wouldn't you go any lower than that? And they'll flip into selling themselves. Well, because obviously, like, you know what you're doing, and like, I like you, and I think that you're great, and da-da-da-da. And then potentially in that conversation, you have gap now. You have gap to be able to say, and what would make it a 10? And then in that, they're going to tell you their objection. So first thing is, why no lower? Close the gap again. And why not a 10? And then you're going to expose the objection here. So again, you haven't pitched yet. You haven't sold anything yet. It would be stupid to do that when you have no idea what they're going to hit you with in the objections. You may as well get it all out in the open first. But you don't want them to say their objections too much. So you want to pad it with them selling themselves first. Now after this, you're going to say, and out of interest, why now? But you're not going to say it like that. You're not going to say it like you're like following a script, because it just sounds like everybody else in the space. You're going to be talking about something. You're going to be mid-flowing conversation. And they're going to be saying something about how something happened in their life and whatever. And like they've seen a video of you and whatever. And you're going to say, out of interest, why did you pick now? Like, why is now the right time? Rather than, and out of interest, why now? Like you said it 1,000 times before. And the hack here is always talking like you've never said it before. Making sure you're actually in on the conversation. Making sure it's smooth, okay? You can't be interviewing someone and making them feel like they're bashed into a corner. That is not going to get you the deal. You need to make sure you are trustworthy, empathetic, genuine, have full integrity, and you can be that when you are showing up as yourself. You're not being anyone different. You are just being you, okay? So out of interest, why now? What are they going to commit to? They're going to commit to buying today. You want them to buy on that sales call now. And what they're going to do is tell you all the reasons as to why they should pay today. And if they get to the end and they decide, oh, sorry, I need to wait for like 2 weeks, you're going to say, but at the beginning of this call earlier on, you said that now was the right time because all the things that they said. You're going to hold the mirror, let them say it to you. And they're going to say, yeah, but da-da-da-da-da. Now, if you want to be super smart, turn this objection off at the very, very beginning of that. When you say why now and they tell you all the things, and you're going to say, so is there any reason why you wouldn't push forwards today? Is there any reason why you wouldn't, right? And you're going to, again, bash all of the objections here. So So you see this becomes like less of an interrogation and more of an honest conversation, so that you don't have to get into that awkward nitty-gritty objection rolling stage that everyone tells you. If someone says this, say this. If someone says that, it's not how it works. Please make sure that you have an honest conversation and a real conversation with people in a real way that feels genuine and authentic, so that you can get to a place where you're not feeling awkward. You also don't want them to feel awkward. You don't want them to feel like they're being put on the back foot and then suddenly they can't afford it and then they feel worse, right? You're doing all of this as well to help them in a nice way, helping expose all the information, and then also helping to hold a mirror when their fear comes up, their nervous system's on fire and they want to run for their lives, right? This is not about twisting someone's arm, but it is about holding a mirror. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable. So you want to get all of the discomfort out when it feels less uncomfortable. So now, number 6, we have clear objections, which we have already gathered from here, from all of the time above this. So every single time we've grabbed any objections from all the way up in our A picture up here, where are we at right now? All of this now, you are gonna now bring back in this objection handling situation. Now you have amazing grounds to go, here is the source of truth. I.e., I now know every single thing that's happening right now to make a very calculated, data-driven decision based on you and your words. Because, by the way, people can also say, like, I don't think this is for me, I'm not really sure, I don't really know, I'm not really that sold, in which case you're probably not going to get this far in the conversation, right? Like, this is for people who are very much there. You're data-driven, right? This is not you saying to people, you should do this thing. This is going to be great for you. Why do you think you should do this? This is going to be amazing. Like, I'm going to tell you now, your life's going to change. That is the worst thing you can possibly say to someone who you are trying to do a big deal with. But where it gets hard is when someone says no. And that is when you're going to clear objections, either before then, or if you have to, after then when you've dropped the price. Because it will happen, but you need to just know how to do this carefully. So all you're going to do now is say, do you mind if I just flag something? Or do you mind if I just raise like a change of perspective? Or do you mind if and you're going to ask for permission. So every time you're rolling an objection, you don't want it to be some kind of like head-to-head battle where everyone feels uncomfortable and everyone wants to just crawl under the table. You want to ask for permission to give a change of frame. And this is where you start to use your reframes. It's too expensive. Expensive compared to what? Right? Things like that. But you're not going to ask it in that way. You're going to say, yeah, no, I completely get it. And like, look, if you paid like 10 grand for a Ferrari, it's going to be cheap, right? Yeah. And if you paid like 10 grand for a banana, that's pretty fucking expensive, right? Yeah. Okay, great. So my point being is that it depends on the thing, it's perception. So expensive compared to what? And they're going to be like, yeah, you know what? I see what you're saying. And then they'll tell you. So this is, again, how you do it. You don't want to just say, this is the price, it's expensive. Expensive compared to what? That's not how this works. And all the videos that you've seen online where it's like objection rolling and like bashing this and saying that, and no, that is not going to get you the deal. You sound like everyone else. You are going to be someone who comes across as the sleazy, pushy, icky salesperson that you said you don't want to be. So don't go there, please. Help yourself and help them to feel better about it, and reframe, to be honest, maturely. Reframe like a good friggin' person. Reframe in a way that helps them to feel good, maybe pushed a little bit, maybe held, maybe led, because some people, they need that. They need to be told what's happening. And so again, another objection. They will object if they don't feel led. So you have to lead them accordingly. Oops, my pen's gone. Lead them accordingly. People love to be told what to do when it comes to taking the next step. You don't want to be telling them how they should live their life. But you do want to be saying, so look, in order to move forwards, all that needs to happen is 1, 2, 3. Sound good? And they're like, great, super clear to me, sounds good. Imagine you're going on a date with someone and they're going around the flipping bend of what food they need to have. And you're like, good God, can we just get to the point? Versus going with somebody else who's like, here, you need to meet me at this time, this place, or I'm going to pick you up at this time. Wear this. Sound good? You know who you're going with already. So take that learning and understand that this is the same thing. Flirt your way there. Flirt your way to the end. And I don't mean romantically flirt, but I mean just paddle your way around it. Like, make sure that you're feeling fun in the conversation. You're having a good time when you're having it. Like, you don't want to feel like you're interrogating and interviewing the person, especially not in the objection part, especially not when you are pushing through things that are going to feel icky and scary and like you're taking someone's fear and identity and putting it in a bin. This is where you have to make sure you are firm within your authority, but you're not making them to feel guilty for it. And people that want growth, you're not going to have to do this as much because they're not going to be as like B2C, and you don't have to be as overly pushy with the emotion in this part of the conversation. You can really just kind of tone it down here. However, in the objection section, I will say this, don't be afraid to push. That's not like push their buttons and push their emotion, but push yourself to ask harder questions and push yourself to say, if I don't ask this person the hard question, I'm doing them a disservice because they don't get the result that they want. This huge desire and this huge B picture that they've asked for, you are now on the same journey as them. You're now asking them to do something. They're asking you for help with the thing. So you've got to get in there with them in the conversation. You've got to feel like you guys are on a mission to make this thing work. You guys are on a mission to get them to where they want to be. And if you're not, you're going to lose the deal. They're going to lose also because they don't get to have the result that they want, that they thought that you were going to be able to help them with. And they're actually going to be disappointed if they think that you're not the person when they did originally hope that you were the person, or they wouldn't be there. So don't forget that too. People ask to be on the call for a reason. They want your help. So don't be afraid to help. Don't be afraid to give it. Believe with clarity and know that help doesn't always mean telling them the most, but it does mean guiding them in ways that can sometimes feel uncomfortable, but it's for the best for them and also for the best for you. So lead accordingly. And then the last one, like I said, is authority here. Making sure that you have that downward tonality, you're okay with asking the hard questions. Once the hard objections are out the way, I want you to ask this one question. And the question is there anything that would stop you from moving forwards today? And by the way, this is after you've done all the objection rolling. After all of that, then this is your final question, because then anything else that they haven't said to you is going to come to the surface or should come to the surface here. And if it doesn't, you can then obviously hold up the source of truth where it's, if they say, no, I don't want to do this, you're going to say, I did ask you 10 minutes ago, is there anything that would stop you? And you said no. So maybe it's just fear, maybe it's just nervous system, maybe it's just doing something different, etc., etc. But that can only come if you have this final question. And then they're probably going to say, this is you, the salesperson. This is them, the happy client. They're probably going to say, it's just the money once they've uncovered everything else. And you want to get them to a place where they're asking how much it is. It's just the money. How much is it? And you're going to say, it's whatever it is. The investment is 10,000 USD. And this really key point here, sound good? All good with you? Perfect. Minimize it. Minimize this big investment that they think is going to be a big thing for you and a big thing for them. Make it small. 10,000 USD, sound good? Okay, perfect. And they're going to say, oh, and everything's going to come out here. Fear comes out, other excuses come out, other objections start coming up. We've heard it before. We all know what happens here. So again, this is where your grounding comes in, your closing comes in, and you're going to say, no worries. And they're going to say, I just can't do 10,000. It's just too much. You're then going to say, no worries. What can you do today? And you can ask this question because on the form that they filled in to have the sales call with you, you've only allowed them to get this far into the call because they've said that they can pay an investment of X amount, the lowest amount that you do, right? So you're going to say on the form, it said there was a minimum amount of 2,000 USD today. Does that still work for you? Oh, no, I can't. That's obviously a pretty bad client, but you might still get it. And you're going to say, look, you did say on the form 1, 2, 3, we've been through all this stuff today, blah, 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 blah. And you're going to hold up the source of truth again. And then once that truth has come out and you've gone, this is obviously a worst case scenario, and you're going around the bend with all these objections, you then have everything that you need to be able to frame, reframe, show them the clearer picture, show them what they want it to be, remember the outcome that we said and discussed together, all of those things, obviously in a better way, to be able to get to a point where they're like, okay, I know it's just fear. The only thing stopping me now is fear. And remember, they are carrying this with them when you then go and make the deal. So number 7, you're going to congratulate the client. When you congratulate the client, this here is a celebration for them, not for you. A celebration for the client. You're going to say, great, amazing, like, how do you feel? I love this, like, you're going to be amazing, da, 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 da. And then you're going to hold the authority. What a lot of people do is they're like, woohoo, great, bye, have a good day, and then that's it. Then the client freaks out, they get buyer's remorse, they want to come back in again, they want to tell you that they can't do it anymore because something came up and life got hard. No. So we're going to help them through this rather than making them the enemy. And we're going to help them through this by making sure that we onboard them within 24 hours. If you can onboard them within 24 hours, you're going to lower their cortisol and their stress levels, lower their nervous system being on friggin' fire, lower all the objections that are rolling, lower all the people that are saying that they have an excuse of this and that, lower any chance of them reverting being like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Because that is what will happen. And fear does crazy things to the human body. And anxiety will skyrocket if you are not careful and you don't literally hold someone's hand for the first 24 hours. And what I love to do here is wow the client during this time. Make them feel amazing. Make them feel like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did this. This is the best investment ever. Maybe have them inside the community so they can speak to other people doing the same thing as them. Maybe send them a few testimonials of people that are like them so they can get a taste of what it's like when they do achieve that, because they will, because they're the same person and they can see themselves in them. Give them something to do. Give them 3 tasks that they can do. That isn't hard, but it helps them to feel like they've stepped and they've done something and they've taken the first step without procrastinating. This here is the number one thing that is going to save all of your sales. The amount of refunds you will need to give will be 0. Why? You've given them something from the off. You've allowed them to start from the beginning. You've reduced their stress levels, their cortisol, all the things I just said. Many people think the deal ends here. It doesn't. The deal ends 24 hours after, even a week after, here. So you gotta then make sure that you are selling something that you, number one, believe in, but number 2, you gotta make sure that you are selling a good friggin' product. Selling good products. Very simple. Sell something good, please. Don't sell something crap, because you're gonna go through all that hard work, be an actually great closer. And if someone gets into the product and they realize the product's terrible, then you lose out. So closer to closer. This is what I wanna make sure that you do. And anytime you feel like someone is like pooing their pants and they're like freaking out and everything's happening and all the things, and there's many excuses, when you do this on yourself and you ask yourself the hard questions first, you will know exactly what it feels like. When you get closed by somebody else and you join something with somebody else and you pay that money, you know what that feels like, and you probably have already, that is the only time you can safely get someone through and over the line, because you know what it feels like. You can only speak on that through experience. You can't speak on that by following a script. You can only speak on that during, like, with the framework, because you understand the psychology, because you've been through it, because you are embodied enough and it's in your bones. So I hope that was helpful. That is the 7 C's, literally from beginning to end. If you can do all of these things, I promise you, you are gonna close way more deals. So if there's anything that you guys want, like, please just comment below. Tell me where you're stuck. Tell me exactly what you'd wanna know. Anything that you guys need, I am open. I will give you it all for free. But thank you for staying to the end of this video, and I will answer your questions in the next one.